Most people hear about billion-dollar deals and assume that's when someone finally made it. But the truth is, the moment many wealthy investors actually feel secure comes much earlier. Warren Buffett built his philosophy around one simple rule: protect what you already have. And before massive returns ever show up, it's that first real financial cushion that changes everything. George Soros didn't win because he was always right. He won because he managed risk better than everyone else. For an ordinary person, hitting $100,000 isn't just a number, it's a shift in how you live and think. It means you stop worrying about rent next month. You stop stressing over bills, emergencies, or small setbacks. You gain something far more valuable than money: time, clarity, and the ability to think long term. And that's where real wealth actually begins. In this video, I'll walk you through a practical roadmap to your first $100,000 using the same timeless principles the world's greatest investors have followed for decades. And in the next few minutes, you'll understand something that took many people years to learn. Let me tell you something most people don't want to hear. Your first $100,000 doesn't start with making more money. It starts with spending less than you're comfortable with. I remember a guy I met a few years ago. Normal job, normal income, nothing special. But he had one goal: save his first $100K as fast as possible. So he made a decision that most people would call too extreme. He moved out of his apartment and into a smaller place with 2 roommates. His rent dropped from $1,200 to $450. Just like that, he freed up over $700 a month. Now here's where it gets interesting. He didn't upgrade anything else. He stopped eating out. Not cut back a little, I mean completely, groceries only, and not the fancy kind: bulk rice, eggs, frozen chicken, vegetables. His weekly food bill? Around $50. Meanwhile, his coworkers were spending that on 2 lunches. He looked at his car next. Monthly payment, insurance, gas it was, eating up a huge chunk of his income. So he sold it and bought an old, reliable used car in cash. No payments, no stress. It wasn't pretty, but it worked. And the crazy part? That one decision alone gave him back another few $100s every single month. Clothes? He didn't buy any unless something was completely worn out. Nights out? Replaced with nights in. Streaming subscriptions? Cut down to 1 or none. Now, most people hear this and think, that sounds miserable. But here's what they don't understand. Every dollar he didn't spend became a soldier working for his future. Because before this, he was stuck in a loop: make money, spend money, repeat. No progress, no momentum, just survival. But once his expenses dropped, something changed. He wasn't just working anymore, he was building. He had a margin, he had breathing room, and most importantly, he had options. That extra $1,000 plus a month, it didn't disappear. He started stacking it, saving it, using part of it to learn new skills, invest in small opportunities, test ideas. And that's the real goal of cutting costs: not to suffer, but to buy yourself leverage. Think about it like this. If your life costs $3,000 a month, you're forced to make $3,000 just to survive. But if you can get that number down to $1,500, you've just cut the pressure in half. That means you can take risks. You can try something new. You can invest in yourself without the constant fear of, what if this doesn't work? This is exactly what people like Warren Buffett understood early on. Wealth isn't just about how much you make, it's about how much you keep and how efficiently you use it. And no, this phase isn't forever. You're not cutting costs for life. You're doing it long enough to create momentum. Because once you hit that first $100,000, everything changes. But it only happens if you're willing to do what most people won't, at least for a little while. So step one is simple, but not easy. Take a hard look at your life and start cutting everything that doesn't move you closer to your goal. Let's be honest for a second. Most people don't have a money problem. They have a time problem. Because if I asked you right now, do you have 4-6 hours a day to change your life? Your first instinct might be to say no. But the numbers tell a very different story. The average adult spends 2.5 to 4 hours a day on their phone, mostly on social media. That's over 1,000 hours a year. To put that into perspective, Malcolm Gladwell popularized the idea that mastery takes around 10,000 hours, but even if that number isn't exact, imagine what just 1,000 focused hours could do for your income, your skills, your future. Now consider a real example. Howard Schultz grew up in a poor neighborhood in Brooklyn. Before he built Starbucks into a global brand, he was known for waking up at 4:30 a.m. every day, not because he had to, but because it was the only quiet time he had to think, plan, and get ahead. This leads to a simple but powerful shift. Your most valuable free time is not after work when you're exhausted. It's in the early morning and the evening hours that most people waste. Between 5 a.m. to 9 a.m. and 5 p.m. to 9 p.m., you potentially have up to 8 hours. Even if you only use half of that consistently, you're looking at over 1,000 hours a year of focused effort. That alone is enough to completely change your financial trajectory. The problem is not lack of time, it's how that time is used. Most people finish work, feel tired, pick up their phone for a few minutes, and lose hours without realizing it. That's not rest. That's distraction, and over time it quietly erodes any chance of progress. If you truly don't have time to work on your future, where is your time actually going every single day? And is that a choice you're willing to defend? To fix this, you need to understand two distinct ways of using your time. The first is maker mode. This is when you are creating value. You are learning a skill, building something, writing, selling, or producing. There are no notifications, no multitasking, no interruptions. This is deep, focused work. People like Elon Musk are known for structuring their time into focused blocks where they work on one problem at a time. That level of concentration is what produces real results. The second is manager mode. This includes emails, messages, meetings, and coordination with others. These tasks feel productive, but they mostly maintain your current situation rather than improve it. The mistake most people make is constantly switching between these two modes. They try to work, then check their phone, then reply to a message, then go back to work. Every switch breaks focus and reduces the quality of what they produce. By the end of the day, they feel busy but have little to show for it. The solution is simple but requires discipline. Separate your time clearly. Use your most focused hours, especially in the morning, for maker work. Push all communication and reactive tasks into a separate block later in the day. When you are working, work. When you are responding, respond. Do not mix the two. This is how people with ordinary schedules create extraordinary outcomes, not by having more time than others, but by using their time with intention. If the first step was about gaining control over your money, this step is about gaining control over your time. And once you control your time, you begin to take control of your future. But this is where things start to change. A lot of people get stuck at this stage, and it's not because they're lazy, it's because they're overwhelmed. They go on YouTube, scroll through TikTok, read blogs, and suddenly it feels like there are 1,000 different ways to make money. Dropshipping, trading, crypto, AI, content creation, freelancing, you name it, and instead of moving forward, they freeze. Here's the hard truth. The problem isn't lack of opportunity, it's lack of focus. The fastest way to your first $100,000 is not by chasing what's new, it's by choosing what already works. Warren Buffett built his entire philosophy around this idea. He didn't invest in things he didn't understand. He didn't chase trends. He looked for proven systems that consistently made money and stayed there. You need to do the same with your skills. Instead of asking, "What should I learn?" ask a better question. What are people already paying for right now? Because money leaves clues. In today's U.S. market, there are clear high-value skills that businesses are actively spending money on every single day. Take digital marketing. Every business needs customers. That means they need people who can run ads, write copy, manage email campaigns, or grow social media. A small business owner in the U.S. will gladly pay $1,000 to $5,000 a month if you can bring in consistent leads. Or look at sales, not just retail sales, but high-ticket sales, closing deals over the phone or Zoom for coaching programs, agencies, or software companies. One skilled closer can earn commissions that exceed $10,000 a month. That's not rare, that's standard if you're good. Then there's content creation, but not just posting random videos. Businesses need strategic content videos that convert, scripts that hook attention, editing that keeps people watching. If you can help a brand grow or sell through content, you become extremely valuable. Another big one is funnel building. Most businesses lose money not because they lack traffic, but because they don't convert it. If you can build a simple landing page, write a strong offer, and guide a customer from interest to purchase, you're solving a direct revenue problem. You also have skills like email marketing, appointment setting, SEO, and AI automation. Especially now, companies are actively looking for people who can help them integrate AI tools into their workflows to save time and cut costs. But here's where most people go wrong. They try to learn all of it. They jump from marketing to trading, from content to coding, from one course to another, and 6 months later, they're still at zero. That's why you need a simple rule to anchor everything. The 1-1-1 rule. One product, one customer, one channel. One product means you focus on delivering one clear outcome. Not 5 services, not 10 offers, just one thing you can get really good at. One customer means you choose a specific group, not everyone. Maybe it's real estate agents, local gyms, online coaches, or small e-commerce brands. The more specific you are, the easier it is to understand their problems and get paid to solve them. One channel means you pick where you reach them. Maybe it's cold email, LinkedIn outreach, Instagram DMs, or content on YouTube, but you don't try to be everywhere at once. This is exactly how momentum is built. Instead of spreading your energy thin, you concentrate it. You get better faster. You see results sooner. And most importantly, you start getting paid. Because at the end of the day, skills are only valuable if someone is willing to pay for them. So don't chase what's exciting. Don't chase what's trending. Chase what's already working and then become so good at it that people can't ignore you. Keep watching, because the next idea might be the most important one in this entire video. Here's where most people fall off and they don't even realize it. They think they're learning. They watch videos, take notes, read books, listen to podcasts. At the end of the day, it feels productive. But a week later, nothing has changed. Their income is the same. Their skills are the same. Their life is the same. Because real learning has a very simple definition. Same situation, different behavior. If you're still doing the same things after consuming all that information, you didn't learn, you just entertained yourself. This is where you need to think differently. George Soros built his entire fortune on a principle most people ignore. He didn't try to be right all the time. He acted, observed the outcome, and adjusted quickly. He treated every decision like a test. That's exactly how you need to approach learning. You don't start by trying to be perfect. You start by doing. If you're learning sales, you don't just study scripts, you get on calls. If you're learning content, you don't just watch tutorials, you publish. If you're learning marketing, you don't just read strategies, you run campaigns. Because action creates something theory never can, feedback. And feedback is the only thing that tells you the truth. Now here's the part that accelerates everything. Volume. You need repetitions, a lot of them. 1 attempt teaches you almost nothing. 10 attempts start to show patterns. 100 attempts, that's where skill begins to form. This is what people mean when they talk about experience. It's not time, it's iterations. But don't just do more, do smarter. Look at your results and find the top 10%, the best performing sales calls, the content that gets the most engagement, the messages that actually get replies. Study those closely. What do they have in common? What did you do differently? At the same time, look at the bottom 90%, not to feel bad, but to identify mistakes. Because often, success isn't about adding something new. It's about removing what's clearly not working. This is how progress compounds. You do, you observe, you adjust. Then you do it again faster, sharper, better. And if you want to shortcut this process, there's one move that changes everything. Learn from someone who's already done it. A mentor collapses time. Instead of guessing what works, you get direct feedback. Instead of making 100 mistakes, maybe you only make 20. That difference alone can save you months, even years. Even George Soros surrounded himself with people who challenged his thinking and helped him see what he couldn't see alone. Because no matter how smart you are, you're always limited by your own perspective. So if you take anything from this step, let it be this. Stop preparing, start doing. Because the people who reach $100,000 aren't the ones who know the most. They're the ones who act, learn, and adapt the fastest. Once you start taking action, learning fast, and building real skills, something interesting happens. You begin to generate opportunities. But opportunity alone isn't enough. The real question is, where should your money go to actually accelerate your progress? Once you've started building skills and taking action, the next trap is surprisingly common. You either become too cheap to invest in yourself, or you spend money randomly without a clear purpose. Both will slow you down. This is where you need to think like George Soros. Soros didn't just make money because he was bold. He made money because he was precise about where he placed his bets. Take one of the most famous moments in financial history, his bet against the British pound during the Black Wednesday. Soros didn't randomly throw money into the market. He studied the system, saw a clear imbalance, and when the opportunity was obvious, he invested heavily and made over $1 billion in a single day. But here's what most people miss. Before that moment, there were countless smaller bets, adjustments, and lessons. He didn't go all in blindly. He built conviction through testing, feedback, and data. And this is exactly how you should think about investing your own money. Because in the real world, the numbers are very clear. For every $1 invested into learning and skill development, the average return is about $4.5, and in some cases, up to $30 returned for every dollar spent. Companies that invest heavily in training see up to 218% higher income per employee. That's not theory, that's measurable financial impact. So when you invest in yourself the right way, you're not taking a risk. You're stacking the odds. There are 3 places your money should go. First is tools. In today's world, tools are leverage. Software, automation platforms, CRM systems, editing tools, these are not luxuries. They are force multipliers. And the data backs this up. Companies that adopt digital learning and tools see up to 60% higher knowledge retention and significantly faster skill acquisition. That means what takes someone else 6 months to learn manually, you might learn in half the time. That's not just convenient, that's acceleration. Second is learning and support. This is where you compress years into months. Organizations that invest in structured learning see around 24% higher profit margins and measurable increases in productivity. Individuals experience similar effects. Training can increase income by over 200% compared to those who don't invest in skills. This is why mentorship matters. Soros didn't operate alone. He constantly tested his ideas against others, refined his thinking, and adjusted quickly. That external feedback loop is what made his decisions sharper. For you, that might be a course, a coach, or someone who has already achieved what you want. The right guidance doesn't just teach you, it prevents expensive mistakes. Third is trial and experimentation. This is the part most people avoid and the part that matters most. Soros had a concept called reflexivity. He believed you only truly understand a system by interacting with it. So he would place a bet, observe what happened, and adjust. You need to do the same. Run ads, post content, reach out to clients, test offers. Some attempts will fail, but failure here is not loss, it's data. And data compounds. In fact, companies that actively experiment and train their teams see productivity gains of 10-40% and faster revenue growth. That's what you're really buying with your money. Speed, feedback, improvement. And all of this leads to one goal, active income. Because before you can invest like the wealthy, you need to earn like the skilled. Soros didn't start by protecting money. He started by earning the right to take bigger bets. And he did that by being disciplined, intentional, and relentlessly focused on what worked. So every dollar you invest right now should answer one question. Does this increase my ability to make more money? If the answer is yes, it's not an expense. It's one of the highest return investments you will ever make. But the story doesn't end there. There's a moment that quietly destroys more financial progress than almost anything else, and most people don't even notice it happening. It's not when they fail. It's when they start making more money and immediately start spending more. This is called lifestyle inflation, and the data behind it is brutal. Studies show that as income increases, spending rises almost at the same rate for most Americans. In fact, nearly 40% of people earning over $100,000 a year still live paycheck to paycheck. Not because they don't make enough, but because their lifestyle expands to match their income. So instead of building wealth, they just upgrade their expenses. A nicer apartment, a newer car, more eating out, better vacations, subscription after subscription. And suddenly, they're back where they started, just at a higher level. This is exactly what Warren Buffett avoided his entire life. Despite being one of the richest men in the world, he still lives in the same house he bought in 1958. Not because he can't afford more, but because he understands a simple truth. Wealth is what you keep, not what you show. Let's make this real. Imagine you go from making $4,000 a month to $8,000 a month. Most people immediately upgrade their life to cost $7,500. That leaves them with $500 in savings. But if you keep your lifestyle at $4,000, you now have $4,000 in surplus every month. That's $48,000 a year. In just over 2 years, you've crossed $100,000. Same income, completely different outcome. This is how people pull ahead and why most never do. Because discipline at this stage matters more than ambition. There's another number that should get your attention. About 65% of Americans don't have enough savings to cover a $1,000 emergency. That means one unexpected expense, a medical bill, a car repair, can completely throw off their financial stability. Now, compare that to someone who has built up $100,000. That person doesn't panic over small problems. They don't make desperate decisions. They have time to think, to plan, to choose. That's the real power of this step, and it doesn't require you to live like this forever. It requires you to delay gratification just long enough to build a foundation. So instead of asking, what can I upgrade, you start asking a better question. What can I keep the same even though I can afford more? Maybe you keep the same apartment for another year. Maybe you keep driving the same car. Maybe you resist upgrading your lifestyle every time your income increases. And every time you do that, you create a gap. That gap is where your wealth grows. Because the extra money doesn't disappear, it gets redirected into savings, into investments, into learning, into opportunities that increase your future earning power. This is the difference between looking rich and becoming rich. One is immediate, the other is delayed but permanent. So if you've followed every step up to this point, cutting costs, mastering your time, building skills, and investing wisely, this final step is what makes it all stick. You don't reach $100,000 just by earning more. You reach it by refusing to give it all back. At the end of the day, this isn't really about $100,000. It's about what that number represents. Because once you hit that first $100K, something fundamentally changes. You stop living in survival mode. You stop worrying about rent, bills, or unexpected expenses. For the first time, you gain the ability to think beyond the next 30 days and start thinking in years. That's the real shift. $100K is your first checkpoint. It's the moment you move from reacting to life to actually designing it. And the path to get there is not complicated, but it does require discipline. You reduce your expenses so you can create margin. You take control of your time so you can focus on what matters. You build skills that people are already willing to pay for. You take action again and again until you improve. You invest your money into things that increase your earning power. And when the results start coming in, you don't give it all back through lifestyle upgrades. That's it. No shortcuts. No magic. Just a system that works if you work it. So the question is no longer, is this possible? The question is, are you willing to do what most people won't, just long enough to change your life? Because your first $100,000 isn't just a financial goal. It's the foundation for everything that comes next. Thank you for watching.